All right, you were promised a I2B2 update on data export, but I'm going to go into a little more detail on all the things that are happening in the I2B2 core platform. This is a list of all of our kind of core team that has put together the 1.8.2 release, and many, many more people are and have been involved in building and curating I2B2 over the years. They're sponsors. I very much appreciate the sponsors, but I can't go to the next slide. All right. Sorry, guys. All right, so I2B2. So Sean and Griffin both talked in a good amount of detail about what I2B2 is, so I'll kind of skip past some of these particular things. But I2B2 has been growing as a data warehousing platform that is used all over the world for the past 20 years, including large data networks like Enact, which Sean talked about, and 300 other institutions, well, 300 total institutions worldwide. So this is our release timeline of releases. If you graph it out, you could see that we're kind of gaining momentum a little bit as we've moved into the 1.8 series. We're trying to build some important new functionality in the 1.8 series. On the left, you'll see a picture that ChatGPT generated in 2024, and on the right, ChatGPT generated from the same prompt in 2025. I think it's becoming a little bit less schizophrenic and kind of focusing itself more on important details. So I think we're doing well with image generation and AI. Some notable advances that we've made overall in the 1.8.x line of I2B2. We have sorry, Mark, the button's not working particularly well. All right, there we go. Okay, so this was our user interface until 1.8.0 came out in right around a few years ago. I think it was 2022. And so it was extremely functional. It did all the things that the current web client does, but it kind of looks like it's from the 90s. And it used very old YUI technology that was not very secure and couldn't be used in enterprises. So that was completely rewritten into this brand new client, and then the new functionality of the mass CPR client that Griffin was talking about, and continues to evolve. There have been various plugins that the team has written. There is an admin tool. There was an old admin tool on the web client, but it didn't actually ever work very well. The new admin tool is great. You can manage projects, you can manage users, you can assign users to projects, all with a few clicks. Much easier than editing the database directly. We're also now supporting the OMOP data model. So the I2B2 star schema is kind of the I2B2 classic data model that we will always be supporting. But we also recognize that OMOP is a very important and popular data model out there today. And OMOP is kind of like I2B2, but with a bunch of data tables or fact tables that have information on specific parts of the patient's information. So I2B2 is these clients that use an XML interface that talk to an application layer on the server, and then that application layer communicates with the database where it actually gathers the patient information. So by swapping out just that database layer from I2B2 to OMOP, we're able to run OMOP on our back end and I2B2 queries on the front end. And the secret sauce really is Michelle Morris's I2B2 OMOP ontology that embeds OMOP IDs, OMOP codes at the base of the I2B2 ontology. So this is an ICD-10 ontology, which we use in Enact for diagnosis codes, because most of the EHR data codes in ICD-10. But OMOP uses SNOMED codes. And so by embedding SNOMED mappings into the ontology, we can query OMOP tables directly. We also have digital twin features. This is a separate package that you can download and put on top of your I2B2. It currently has a loyalty cohort package and a Kessler-CoMap computational phenotyping package. The loyalty cohort package, I'm actually going to be talking about in more detail tomorrow morning, but it is a validated approach to use proxy measures in the EAHR to find patients that are statistically likely to have complete data. So it enhances and enriches your cohort for patients where you don't have vast amounts of missing data. And the computational phenotypes package is the Kessler-CoMap piece that Griffin and Tianqi were talking about earlier that allows you to create these probabilistic phenotypes based on all of their complex machine learning reasoning. So I2B2 1.8.2 is coming this summer. There is a beta quietly available right now that you can find on the website if you look for it. But the final release will be coming in the next couple of months. Major changes from a kind of technology stack. We've upgraded to Java 17, Wildfly 34, access to V2, all these things because of security reasons. In order to pass the security tests that enterprises are requiring to run I2B2, we needed to upgrade to these versions. So we are moving away from Java 8 after many, many years. New features in kind of reverse order, perhaps, of importance. We have these patient counting scripts that are used for data quality, query optimization, understanding your data. Thanks to some work from Darren Henderson and others, a few years ago, we got a version for MS SQL that is 10 times faster than the old version. Now, thanks to some effort on our part and also the magic of ChatGPT, we have versions of this for Postgres and Oracle. And so you can count the number of patients in your ontology quite rapidly, and that gives you a nice picture of what data you have available. Bug fixes, performance improvements, a new ACT ontology, which we bundle with the core platform because it's such a good ontology, and a new data export workflow, which is the main piece that I am going to talk about today. Well, let's see. There we go. Okay, so the enact 4.2 ontology. I have one slide on this. Michelle's talking more about ontology things later this afternoon, so I'll keep this very brief. There are updated tables that have been updated to the OMLS 2024a-B edition, adding new codes, diagnoses, ARCs, norms, CPT, ICD-10, and social determinants of health. So it is incremental but important update. The data export workflow, we introduced a new data export workflow in 1.8.1. This was kind of the first iteration of advanced data export in I2B2. Internally at MGB, we do a lot of data export with I2B2. A lot of institutions have implemented their own data export in I2B2, but all we have officially had until 1.8.1 was the Export XLS plugin that lets you create an Excel spreadsheet from a cohort query. So in 1.8.1, we introduced this workflow where a user could run a query, and when they ran the query, they could at the same time request data in kind of I2B2 long table format, medications, diagnoses, procedures. And then a manager could see that request, rerun the query with an export, and generate data files that then could be shipped back to the user. The interface, I mean, the technology worked great. It was a little cumbersome to use. In 1.8.2, we built a whole new workflow that leverages some things that have been happening internally at MGB that are now part of this community edition, where you can create a custom analysis table. Because sometimes if you're doing co-occurrence matrices, you probably want all the data. But often if you're doing a particular research study, you just want a spreadsheet with like the 6 or 7 variables that you're trying to do logistic regression on. And so you can build a table that gives you exactly that now. And you can request the data when you run the query. And now the web client team has built this amazing data request manager that allows you to manage your users' queries if you're a manager, and generate the data files and return those to the user. And then data files are all the old data files, if you support those at your institution, the long tables, but you can also create these custom wide table CSVs. I have a video embedded here, so I'm going to skim through this really quickly. This is the table designer, and you can look at the type of data that you're going to be generating. You can save it, and this is my custom video. And what do you think? Will this play it? It does. Okay, great. So this is the I2B2 demo data. So it's 133 asthma patients. So it hangs together well. It's self-consistent. So I use this for this demonstration. So I'm going to, now showing that there are 133 asthma patients, I'm going to go over here to plugins and design a data table. So I get this default data table design with gender, age, and race. And I can turn those options off if I'm not interested in those. And so what I'll get if I just ran my data request with that table is I would get 3 columns in a spreadsheet on all of the 133 patients, if that was the cohort that I ran the query on. So I've chosen mild intermittent asthma as my variable that I'm interested in, so I don't get all 133 positives. And I'm choosing the first date. So what was the date that the patient was first diagnosed with mild intermittent asthma? And you might have seen there were a variety of choices there. There's existence, yes, no. There's date, first and last. And there's count of concept types or number of facts or number of providers. There's quite a lot of interesting aggregations that you can build into the table design. And now I'm picking GERD, which ChatGPT tells me is co-occurring with asthma frequently. So I'm not sure if that's correct, but I brought over reflux. And I'm also doing the date the patient was diagnosed with that. And I'll bring over some respiratory inhalants. Maybe I want to compare like fluticasone, ipratropium, budesonide. And those, I think I will choose the number of facts. So the number of times I see a prescription event or a fill event or whatever's recorded in the I2B2, but a medication appears in the record. And an inflammation marker. Now this is a lab, and so you get the option to choose your value range. So I'm choosing abnormally high or mildly high to extremely high. And incidentally, I don't show this, but there are other aggregation options on labs. You can do the mean, the median, the max, the min on those because they're associated with numeric values. You can also put date constraints on these, any of these items in here. So maybe I want to look only at occurrences that happened before 2018. This is all older data, so that works. I can save it as a local table that's visible just to me, or as a project shared table so that everyone in my project can see it. And then administrators also have the ability to create system shared tables that everyone can use as templates to start with. And I've saved my table, and we move on to the next step. Now, as a user, I can request data export. So we've enhanced the query results options. So you see these user-created tables, along with the 1.8.1 data exports above it. And I'm choosing my table that I designed. And let's see, there we go. So I will drag over asthma, but I don't want all 133 patients. So I'll drag over young people with asthma. And I will run my data request. Well, here I'm just showing you can do a count query if you haven't seen that before. In seconds, you get the number of patients with that particular set of criteria. Now I will do a data request. And this gets put into the database, and then the manager will see this request in her queue when he or she is managing the queries, which I will show next. So this is the data request manager. And this is a tool that lets you see data requests, and if you have the permissions to do so, to actually click the button to generate the data files. So as you can see, I can see at the top query is my asthma 4 table. I can click on view details. I can see statistics about it, when it was generated, who requested it, some of the details of the query. There's this shared comment area that managers who have access to generate files can also edit the comments here. This is where, in real life, one could put information on IRB approvals or restrictions that the query needs to adhere to. And I could withdraw the query if I wanted to. I can also go to the cohort that was selected that this table was requested on, which is what I just showed there, so young people with asthma. And I can click Create File, and it will create the file. It submits it, and the file's available. That was actually how long it took to generate it. Again, it's maybe 50 patients, but quite impressively fast, even to me. So this is the table that got generated. So you see we have columns for gender and age and race, and then the mild intermittent asthma, I have the date of diagnosis. The inhalers, I have the number of medication events. The reflux, I also have the date of first diagnosis. And IgE should have picked something fun like mean or max, but I just picked existence, so it's a yes or no column. So that's our data export feature. I hope that institutions use this. I hope we get a lot of feedback on how we can kind of improve this even more in 1.8.3. So again, I think you've seen most of these URLs, but go to our websites. Community.i2b2.org is kind of all things I2B2 as far as information about I2B2. www.i2b2.org is the software download. And then there's a Google group where you can ask any question you'd like about I2B2. It's a pretty active community. All the source code is available in GitHub, and you can submit issues on Jira. And we welcome community contributions. We've gotten many of these, actually, people submitting features to us, and then some of them being incorporated into the core platform of I2B2. So basically, you just make a GitHub pull request. Also get in touch with one of us to let us know you did. So I2B2 1.8.2 coming summer 2025. And that's my little update. Thanks.